August the 2nd, 2022, on a Tuesday, prime time. We go, starting off the meeting. There is first up. He's in Las Vegas. Hello, cuz. Elizabeth.
Hi, Jerry.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm better.
I take that. I see you. You know, if you're here, you're ready.
Yeah.
Hey, cousin Larry, how you doing?
Hi, Larry. His mic must not be on.
Well, he had it connected. We'll see. Hey, Larry, can you hear us? He's had some challenges in the past, you know.
Yeah.
Don't take if allergic to Rinvoq, as serious reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or
Oh.
Okay.
So Larry, is your audio working? I don't think it is. He had this challenge the last time.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why'd you've been a little busy this week? It just started.
Mm-hmm.
How's JC?
She's good. Yeah, she's good.
Okay. I believe today's Eddie's birthday.
Yeah, it is.
I called him.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you get him?
I think I did. It was brief.
Uh-huh.
He's been doing some traveling.
Yeah. I sent him a message this morning.
I've been doing some interesting research. I've been finding out more about my family members.
That's good.
And one of the ways that I've been getting the information is just by calling some of my relatives that I discovered in DNA, and just talking to them and listening to them, because they have a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
that's a good thing that you're able to contact people and they're willing to communicate with you. You know, that's a good thing. Yeah,
it makes a difference too, because I'm talking to some people where our ancestors were, where they lived in Prescott, Arkansas. In that area, you know, there's Leo Meeks. Leo Meeks Jr. is the one that I talked to today, and he has a lot of information that he shared with me from some other relatives that are in that area. And so he's going to be checking with them to see if we can share numbers.
Yeah. Have you found anyone further back than C.D. Moss? And
yes,
you have found people further back from them?
Yes.
Like their parents and so forth?
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, that's good.
That family, that's my third great grandfather. His
Uh-huh.
name was William Moss.
Uh-huh.
And I've
Okay.
been doing a lot of research on, he was enslaved in Hempstead County, the township of Ozan Township.
Mm-hmm.
And the slaveholder, William Moss, he had a farm.
Yeah.
And so, some were strictly cotton farmers, and others,
Uh-huh.
they would do grains,
Yeah.
wheat, the cattle, the so that they would be able to feed themselves and also feed the people in the community. So
Yeah.
I did discover that from the
Mhm.
records, that William Moss had he had a farm.
Yeah, I know my mother, my great grandmother, my great grandparents, I know they were in slavery. I know my grandmother was too. I've been trying to think of this slave, it was a sharecropper that's what they were, sharecroppers. And I can't remember what this man name, what was this man's, it was a white man. But I do remember that about them.
How did you get that information?
Well,
A story or?
no, I know that, well, I know through my life story of growing up, we moved a lot. I didn't understand why we were moving so much, but they were sharecroppers. They were sharecroppers. Shirley's calling me. They moved a lot because they were sharecroppers. I know cotton was one of the biggest ones. One of the things that they did.
What state did they live in? Do you know that?
I know Texas, Oklahoma. So that's the thing. They just, I call them black gypsies because that's all they did was stayed on the go. I'm still trying to get some information on them. My aunt, she's the youngest and the last. She doesn't really know, but I have some cousins that I've gotten in contact with, as far as they can help to remember some things. So I don't have too many people that have information, but I do know they were slaves. My great grandparents and their parents, I know they were slaves. I know my grandma was I remember the little shanty places on the property of the owner of the place or whatever. But yeah, I really have to go through everything. So.
Well, it's good to be able to communicate with the cousins that you know now, or the relatives that you meet now, and they can also help put some of the family portrait together too.
Yeah, that's the sad part about it. Not everybody are willing to talk. Everybody's not willing to communicate, Let me tell her. Hey, Cheryl. Hello? Shirley?
Hello, cousin Brenda. Hello, cousin Brenda.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm trying to get my headset to work.
Yeah, this is part of the meeting where we
The startup problem, right?
Yeah,
Everybody.
Yeah, we check all of our technical and it's meet and greet and we
Yeah.
make sure we
Hi,
take.
how are you doing? On here. Let's-
Larry, we haven't gotten your, Larry, can you hear us? Larry's out in Las Vegas and I don't know if he's a tech, let me see if he's connected. Okay, his video's off and his
His mic is off too.
yeah.
Can you try sending him a message through chat?
I don't know if he'd do that. I'd rather call him than do that.
Oh, okay.
I think my,
That's okay. Uh-oh. All these these technical devices we have, our phones, Bluetooth, like you said, the speakers on. And it takes
know.
takes a lot to be able to communicate these days.
Yeah, it's a good thing, but as long as it's working, then when it doesn't work, it's a little frustrating, right?
It's
So.
a whole lot. How have you been, Brenda?
I'm okay. I'm okay. My mom's supposed to be on here. I have to call her and see if she's having trouble getting on. She's supposed to be coming on. Doing okay. Having a nice summer. It's nice, and you guys have hot weather all year round. We're having really hot weather this summer. So it's been nice. Summer, summer's busy for the East Coast people because we're going to the beach, going on vacation, every, back-to-back trips, getting ready to, just came back from Bermuda, getting ready to go to Virginia Beach next week.
Wow.
So.
How was it in Bermuda?
Bermuda was good. It was good. I've gone for many years. I have friends who live down there. So they were one of my friends was having a 70th birthday party. So we went down for it. So my friends, we had a good time. It's nice. It's, I don't know. Have you been before?
No, I haven't been, on a trip
Okay.
like that.
Yeah. It's really an East Coast trip because it's literally an hour and 50 minutes from New York City because it's off the coast of South Carolina.
Mhm.
So it looks like the Caribbean. It's got the blue water and the pink sand, but you can only go kind of in the summer. It gets cooler there in the winter as well. It's, based on it was built on a coral reef out there in the Atlantic Ocean. So, but it's nice this time of the year. It's beautiful.
Here comes your mom.
Yeah, okay. She's coming. And I don't know if Aunt Vlada's coming on tonight.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I don't know. We've been having a lot of calls on the other, trying to plan the virtual family reunion, which you're going to hopefully be participating in. So that's, we've been busy with those calls. We have those calls we were having them every week. Now it's every other week. So she's been on all of those.
I would love to participate in that that fantastic family event. Hello, cousin Juanita. Hi, cousin Juanita. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. See, my daughter beat me, huh?
I know. I was wondering where I was about to call you.
That's great.
I know. And
That's very great.
yeah, looking forward to having one maybe next year in person. We should have East Coast one and West Coast one and an East Coast one. Family reunion.
So what are some of the details of who, what, when, and where for the one that you are going to be doing this year?
Oh, no one's contacted you yet. I think Rachel is supposed to be contacting you. So I think November. What day, Ma? November. It's after Veterans Day. It's a Saturday, I think, after Veterans Day. Yeah, because Veterans Day is on a Friday. We were talking about that. So it's that Saturday. So it's like 15th, 16th, something like that. I don't have my calendar in front of me right now. So yes, and so they were hoping that you will do your whole presentation on the Moss genealogy, which you presented to us before with all the photos. But it sounds like you have even more, which is what you're going to talk about tonight.
Well, here's my main mentor. She just came in, Frances.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Frances Haywood getting ready to come in. She's the one that uh, set me down and said, okay, here's how it's done. Here's where you
Oh, okay.
here's who
Great.
you are, here's where you came from. And I just took it and said, okay, I'll finish putting the puzzle together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Wow, that's, yeah.
she's out in Carson. She's out here in California, in Carson, California, right up by Long Beach.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Great,
well, you knew a
great
lot more
researcher.
than we knew, for sure. So,
Mhm. So I'm getting more.
okay, good.
So, cousin Francis, can you hear us? Are you getting connected?
No, I could hear you. I'm just not on the video.
Okay, there she is.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hi.
This is Frances Haywood.
Uh,
Man, she was doing research and and had all the paper documents and traced our family and then she got the program, this family tree maker, and was able to
Okay.
put our genealogy in a form of published our pedigree. And that's what I have. And I'll be able to show you that pedigree chart again today. I'll go over it with you, just let you take a
Okay.
look at it. How have you been, Francis?
I've been fine. I really have been fine. I'm just tired. Just got back from a trip. I went to Kenya. So
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
so
You have to tell us about that. That sounds fun.
oh
Bucket list trips, right?
yeah, I've seen the animals, but it was just more important that I got to see the Maasai people.
Yes.
That was the highlight of my trip.
Yes.
That was the highlight of my trip.
Yeah. Wow. How was the travel? Everything went well?
Yeah, everything went well. Planes, everything was delayed. Other than that, everything went well. See, my hair is a mess. That's heading comb my
Is that
hair.
why you're not showing us who you are? Oh, there you are.
And
Okay.
there I am. There I am.
that's Francis, boy. That's my cousin.
Okay.
I've been up to her house 2 times. I visited her 2 times. I've been to her house. My wife and I have been there 2 times to visit her.
Oh,
That's
well,
my mentor.
well, you're welcome back.
Amen.
Okay.
So-
Am I related to Brenda?
Tell them, Brenda. Oh, here's how they are.
I was just about to ask you because
Okay, here's the
you and Jerry sounded like I was going to ask you if you and Jerry grew up together or whatever, knew each other before. But
Uh-huh.
I'm a Moss. My married name is Green. Don't laugh. You're the only people that can't laugh at me.
Uh-huh.
I'm Brenda Moss. That's Juanita Moss is my mother. Edward Moss was my father. We're the Mosses from Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Yeah, and you've heard about that whole new wing of the family that
Oh.
comes originally from our grandfather, who was, where was he? Arkansas, and eventually was in Pennsylvania, went to Arkansas, and then came back to Pennsylvania and died, but went to Howard Divinity School.
oh, wow. That's interesting. That's always good to know more about family too. So your family originally is from Pennsylvania or from Arkansas?
Well,
Hey.
my father's grandfather was from Arkansas.
Okay.
And then he went to Howard University Divinity School and met
Wow.
my grandmother. They went to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And they divorced and he went back to Arkansas. And then when he got sick, the end of his life, my family members were called and said, he needs someone to take care of him. And he came back to Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm related to the Mosses now. I'm not going to get into great detail because I'll get something.
Which Mosses are you really? The same ones?
With Jerry, through Jerry.
No, Jerry knows the truth.
Yeah, who's it? Your grandmother, is it Burnell?
The Burnells.
Yeah, through the Burnells.
Burnells
Yeah.
and that whole family branch is from that same area. and we can document them from the 1870 census. They
Yeah,
were,
yeah,
all in the same area, same location. Taylor, Bell Store, in Nevada and Columbia County, Arkansas. And then they all were together and they just migrated together too. To the
yeah.
they
So
had-
they pretty much, yeah, because they're originally from Alabama. Burnell's really from Alabama. So
And-
that's what
and so was so was the
Mosses?
Mosses. And the brothers, they went to Arkansas. They moved from Alabama to Arkansas for the farming and the land. And what
Yeah.
happened is some went down to Texas, but Texas was so brutal with their slavery. And so some of the slaveholders, they wanted to come up on the north side of the Red River where it wasn't as, they were more cordial, more productive. They wanted to use their land and be more productive. And they had they were more empathetic.
Yeah, the history's history's interesting too. So yeah, I also had there was a family reunion, our little kinfolk reunion. It was in Little Rock in June. That was fun. That was really fun.
Did you
It
go?
was good. Yeah, I went.
Wow,
Went.
that's a bit
So
interesting.
so there were about a couple hundred people that were there. It was really, really good. And the best part was the youngsters, the little ones that age up to 12. They just like met up and they just became friends. And they, it was just good to see them sitting at a table, talking to each other, getting up, dancing. And this is like, that was the best part, seeing the little ones meet their cousins. Yeah.
And there's going to be a reunion. My cousins here, Juanita and Brenda, they're hosting a reunion in November,
Where?
and
Wow.
it'd be a virtual one, and it'd be
It's
good.
virtual
It'd be good
right
for us
now.
to,
We're gonna,
it'd be good for us to participate in, because they want to hear some of our family history, and it would be good to let them hear from
I'm not an expert.
the DNA matriarch.
you said you were,
the
you said
family.
you were.
No. It's just that my mom and her sisters left a piece of paper, and that was the starting point, and it just
Oh,
allowed
okay.
us to they just put down the family history, and that's where we started. So
Praise the Lord. At least somebody left something.
oh no, they left a roadmap. They really did.
That's the beauty of it, that
Yeah.
you were left a treasure.
And
Yeah.
when I went to visit Frances, she brought out her archives and see, and when she does that, then she tells the story about the family from her, what she's learned.
Yeah.
And it's very revealing. And then you see that we had favor, and that we had prosperous, we had intelligent, we had hardworking relatives, and they made a difference in the world.
They did. There are a lot of ministers. There were a lot of ministers. There are a lot of ministers in the family.
Yes.
That's what I liked about the family reunion. All the young people that were there in their 20s and 30s, and they're doctors and lawyers and just doing all kinds of good things. It just makes you proud to say, hey, I know the ancestors are smiling this weekend to see their descendants. Yeah, just doing all kinds of sorts of things too. So.
Well, Frances, on that note, today I was doing some research on Mount Vernon Church and the Mount Vernon Cemetery, where the Burnells are descendants. The majority, a lot of them are interred there. Yeah, with my Google Earth, I was able to zero in on them, and I also looked at the registry and the names of the our ancestors who are interned there.
Yeah.
And you have been down there, haven't you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that was one of the things, one of my first cousins, well, your cousin too, she wanted, no, not Ezel, her name is Daphne. She wanted to see where this is the maternal side, yeah, where the Hugheses, where her dad was born in Stevens, Arkansas. So she wanted to see what that looked like. So we drove down from Little Rock and we went over to Mount Vernon, and we got to see all this. We went over to Mount Vernon to the cemetery.
Yes.
So I've been over there a couple of times. Every Labor Day weekend, they have a homecoming at Mount Vernon. And so if you go, you're related to everybody in the church. Because they're on time. But they do that every Labor Day weekend. So yeah, we were over there. The Nevada County Depot, I guess that's what their historical society, they have good records of all the cemeteries in that area. And I think it's called Nevada County Depot.
Yeah, I've seen
And you can go on their website and it'll list all the cemeteries, and they really have got good records of who's buried there in the various cemeteries. And a lot of them are by, you can look, some of them, you could say like the Burnells are at Mount Vernon. And then another family's at another cemetery. So you really can
a lot of the mosses are at the McKinney Cemetery.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right, Willisville. And then there's a lot in our members in Prescott, and Deanne Cemetery is called Deanne.
Yeah.
Prescott.
Uh-huh.
And that's where our family, that's where our family really established themselves, was in Prescott. So Brenda and cousin Juanita, that when you start seeing our records, you'll see that's one of the foundations of where our family, they really established themselves, and then they started, branching out. Prescott.
Branching out, yeah. Yeah.
And it's shown
in Boston, and
it's shown on the censuses, on the different censuses.
Mm-hmm.
But
that Nevada County Depot, their historical society, is a good source for finding everybody, who's buried up to a certain period of time. But
just recently, again, our second great grandmother and grandfather, City Roberts was her maiden name, and Reuben Thomas Moss. They were in Prescott in 1910, and from there, their sons moved them out to California, to Los Angeles, and so and their family out to Los Angeles, because my uncles, they were porters. A lot of them were porters, and that's my Uncle James Monroe, his brothers. There was Samuel Frederick, and Luther Henry. Those were the ones that were porters, and they would go back and forth, and they established themselves in Los Angeles. And at that time, being a porter, it really helped the families. It took them into middle class. It was a laudable profession. And the story behind the porters is really interesting, just the fact how they got into those positions. They were able to see the country, and they established themselves, and that helped the migration. That's why there's a number of mosses that are established here in California.
Oh, my mom would come out every
number of from our branch.
Yeah, my mom would come out, periodically, and she, it's like, I really wished I'd talked to her, because she'd go visit family. It's just, I'm finding some cousins that live out in the San Bernardino area. And I said, oh, this is who she went to visit their parents. That's when she'd come out to visit. So she kept up. My mom and her sisters kept up with a lot of family members, and I really wished I had, paid a little bit more close attention too. So, yeah.
And cousin Juanita and Brenda, Uncle James Monroe, was one of the younger brothers of my great grandfather, Thomas Moss. So that's how we're connected. And I did take the Y DNA test. I did follow up from because, so I do have that.
Oh.
Family tree DNA. I took that family tree DNA, and I do have all those records for you.
Oh, okay. I have to go back and look.
Well, I do have it when it comes time for a presentation. I can show you where it is. But I did follow up, cousin Juanita. I did do that in your per your request.
Thank you.
So you're gonna tell us where we really come from now, right?
Yeah, it cost me, but I'd rather do
was
that
not
than have to
cheap,
go
huh?
through her wrath.
Because what is it,
So-
Ma?
What?
His will go all the way back, or is that the
It's
one? Or
the male
goes all the way back.
chromosome goes all the way
stays
back.
the same, no, generation after generation?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Your Y chromosome is the same as your father's, which was the same as his father's, all the way back to the slave that was brought over, on the ships back to the country where he was kidnapped. So what is the country?
Yeah, what's the country? What's the country?
Oh, I can't be specific about it, but I have it.
Well, I want to know.
I just told you I had the information. I'll get it to you.
On pins and needles.
Come on, where's the drum roll? Drum
I did
roll.
put that in. Let me see. I did put that in one of my meetings. I did have it. So I have it in my records back here on my machine, but I will be giving information to you.
Okay.
I'll make it a point to afterwards, everybody who's here, I'll send those records to you so you can look at them and ask any other questions, and I'll answer them the best of my ability. Now, Larry, can we hear you now? Can you hear us? I believe he can hear us. Oh, I can check to see one last time. Somebody's chatting.
We lost someone.
Yeah, we can't see him, and his he turned his video off, and we can't see him. So what we're going to do here briefly, we're going to just move right along. I want to do a brief introduction because we've talked to each other in a conversation like as if we know each other personally, but I just want to get a brief introduction of yourself, where you live, and what have you found recently from your research, something that can add value to the meeting. We'll start with Brenda, then we go to Francis, and then cousin Juanita. So Brenda, please, cousin.
I'm Brenda Moss Green, and I live in Danbury, Connecticut. And I'm sort of new to the group because I just retired. I can't say recently, but a few months ago. And so as I was telling Jerry, originally involved in the Pennsylvania Moss group that's doing also a virtual reunion this year, and a live reunion in Pennsylvania in person, hopefully, COVID willing, next year. I think next August we're planning to do it. So we've been involved in that. So we've been exploring a lot of the Moss family in Pennsylvania, and primarily Ella Moss Wynn, who was my grandmother, and her father is what is his first name, Mom? I'm forgetting now. James Moss, who was a pastor, was the one who originally came from Arkansas, married my great grandmother, went to Pennsylvania, and as I said, went back to Arkansas and then came back before he passed away. So we've got various parts of the family. My father was the only, we're tracing everybody that goes back to Ella Moss, and we've got several families. She married more than one. So we have several families. So we have a lot of families on that side of the family who all go back to the Mosses as well. But we didn't know a lot about where James came from prior to Jerry giving us the history. We didn't know about his family or his brothers or any of that. So this has been really eye-opening, and sorry, my father's not still alive to hear all of this.
I just want to clarify some of the information
Okay.
while we're here. The family, we have the family documented in the census from 1880 and the 1900s. But what happened is there was four brothers, and I have photos of them. Have y'all seen the photos of the brothers? Have y'all seen the brothers, James and James, Henry, and Luther and Samuel? Have y'all seen any of those photos?
You showed us your other slide. You showed the last one of the other times. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, what happened is they were the Moss brothers, and we had favor. They had favor, and James Monroe, Uncle James Monroe, Munro. When I talked to Val for the first time, she just she didn't know the Monroe. She did James Moss, and I thought it was Muro. But anyway, they had favor, and they went up there to that school in Howard. And Howard was just now developing. They were like on the second or third class that graduated. And Val has his degree in 1911
Wow.
in theology. So she showed pictures of it. And then from there, Uncle James traveled to the Midwest. He went over to Minnesota, and he was a traveling preacher. And so in Minnesota, he worked. We have census that have where he worked at. And he was in a boarding house. And in one of his boarding houses, he had a relationship with one of the ladies there, impregnated her. And that's where we have a cousin that you see from time to time. His name is Michael McGee. And Mike McGee, he comes on, and he's Uncle James Monroe. That's Mike McGee's grandfather. And then so Uncle James Monroe, from there, he was a traveling pastor and astonished in his trade. Then he traveled in 1930. He is listed on the 1930 census in Omaha, Nebraska. It's Omaha, cousin Brenda. And he was staying with his first cousin, Edward Moss. And his sister, Jeannie Moss, also was there in Omaha in the 1930 census. So he stayed in Omaha, and that's where they wrote back. And after he had gotten older, to make arrangements to come get him. So they came and got him from Omaha.
From Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska, and then took him back. And Val saw him. Val told me that she saw him maybe one or two times once he got back up there to the East Coast. So that's,
Yes, I saw.
Did you see him
saw
too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, light gray eyes.
oh, that's something that you want to that you're going to see this in the census. Our great grandfather Reuben Moss, he's listed as a mulatto. And what happens is when you look at your DNA, I'm sure it comes up some Irish. A certain percentage is it Irish?
Yeah, Irish.
Yes.
Scots Irish. Both
Yeah.
of them.
Okay, there is some of that. But one of the characteristics that the Mosses have, and it's a signature one that has been passed down through the generations, and my brothers have it, you'll see it cousins, you'll see it of my father. They had the hazel eyes. They have eyes, the color, their eyes they're magnificent when you see them. And that is one of the genetic traits that has been passed down. And you'll see that some of our relatives have them, some don't. But a couple of my brothers, they have them. And it's pretty distinguished. That's part of the characteristics of that was passed down for the Mosses. Thanks for mentioning that, one of you.
Yeah, so one of the daughters of Ed's sister, Yvette Janier, Janier Holden, that's her name. She has those gray eyes. The gray, they're not blue. They're gray, actually.
That is one of the traits.
Can I just ask a question? I was looking, James Monroe, he was born in about 1873.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm looking at my data to make sure I got it right, because I had a death for him, which is wrong. So, okay, thank you.
What year do you have for the death?
What I had was like 1919, and as you were talking, I said, no, that couldn't be him. But he died in 1970? Is that correct?
Possibly, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, something about that. I was just looking.
In Washington, D.C.
In Washington, D.C. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was just checking my record, so I need to correct my records. Okay.
Isn't that something to get a degree in 1911, one of the first Blacks to get a theology degree in 1911, and through his career traveling, spreading the word and being ambassador for God, his passing was in Washington, D.C.
Okay, yeah, February 1970. Okay, is this, the owner of this tree is MCG 763? That,
I don't know which tree that is.
Okay, I was just looking at the trees. Okay, thank you. We'll clean up my minutes.
We have a couple new members here that they're members, and to this meeting. I just want to have a brief. We were going through our introductions, and we got Brenda's, and we had some follow-up conversations, and so we're going to Francis. We want to just get your a brief introduction of where you're at, where you live. What have you discovered in your research, and what does it mean to have your DNA test? Francis,
Well, I haven't.
Let's go with you, and Deacon down at the bottom. You know who that is? There he is. That's Peavy. That's my cousin.
Yeah, that's me.
There he is.
I'm sorry to be late, but I had to go down to the church from a pastor.
Yeah, wait till we tell your story. Go on, Francis.
Yeah, hi, I'm Francis. My maiden name is Owens. Last name is Haywood. I live in Carson, California, now near Long Beach. I got started just because I went to a family reunion, because our family reunions are a little different because it was started around my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. So you couldn't, and everybody's from Arkansas, so you couldn't invite one side of the family, not the other side of the family. And then my brother said, hey, since everybody's here, why don't we have a reunion? So when I go to the reunion, I see both sides of my family. So at one of the reunions, one of my cousins tried to put together a family history. And so he's trying to get, and it was kind of crazy. And I promised myself I would do something. And so we had a reunion in Ontario, California in 2002. And that's when I made my first attempt to work on the family. And then after that, I found stuff my mother had written, my aunts had, and it's just kind of gone. So I've learned a lot about the family. And like I said, I had a roadmap with my mom because she had the Burnell side, everybody, all the children that were born outside of the marriage. And they had my Hughes side, which is my mother's father's family. So basically, I haven't really done anything lately. I need to get back at it. But the most exciting thing was, I said, I just had returned from a family reunion in Little Rock. And so my cousin wanted to go down and see where her dad was born in Arkansas. So we went down. And one of the things I wanted to see on my Hughes side, this is my maternal side of the family, I found where my second great grandfather, who was born in 1818 in Virginia, I found where he was buried. And so we drove out to see his gravestone, and it is still there. He lived to be 94 years old. And so that was really the highlight of our trip. So I have a picture of my first cousin, she's a Hughes, taking a picture of our second great grandfather's gravestone. And that was just an awesome, awesome, awesome picture. So if you're looking for where graveyards are, you need to find my cousin Ezel, because he knows all the back roads. And one of our Kendrick's cousins, showed him how to maneuver around the back roads of Nevada County and Columbia and Washita, and he was able to find our second great grandfather's tombstone. That was just amazing. So that's kind of where I'm at. I haven't done much lately, but to see that was just really something. Yeah.
You know, as a follow-up on that, I went 2 years ago, I went up to Los Angeles to Evergreen Cemetery in Los Angeles, East LA, to honor Sidney and Reuben Moss, my second great grandparents, and that's where they're entombed. And they died about less than a month apart. She passed away first in 1918, and he second within a month. I think his might have been by a broken heart, and they're both interned in Evergreen Cemetery. And for me to go up there and walk those grounds, it's a humbling experience, Francis. And so thank you for sharing. You know what happened? It was on a Sunday. I was there. I walked around the area, and you have to maintain your own grounds there. You know, they didn't have no public maintenance, so the families were out there maintaining the grave site, and I was close. But let me tell you how the good Lord works. This year, my young cousin Jordan Rogers, he went out there, and he actually was at the two stones right next to each other and took the pictures. So it is something when you can hand it off, and we have our descendants and these young family members of ours who are taking the torch. And I know all this work that we've done is in good hands.
And let me add something, and that is so important. I have two great grandnephews who live in DC. So I go back and I tell myself I have 5 minutes. They're like 7 and 10. I got 5 minutes to do something about the family history. So they happened to come out here last year for Thanksgiving. And so we was going over the family history. And on my paternal side, the earliest ancestor that I've been able to find, his name is Jack Turner. He was born in Africa. And I didn't do all that research. And so I kept calling, his name is Jack Turner. So it'd be like my fourth great grandfather. So I kept calling him Jack Brown. And the 9-year-old looked at me, they called me Dolores. He said, Aunt Dolores, his name is not Jack Brown, his name is Jack Turner. I went, oh, praise God. They have been listening to my father. So they had been listening, and I said, okay, I don't have to do any family history lessons while they're here. He got it, So it's just so important to take those few minutes and do something. But he said, no, his name is not Jack Brown. His name is Jack Turner. I said, okay, I got it. You got it. So I'm done. Oh.
Thank you, cuz. We're going to go down to down at Aurelius. Aurelius, yes. We're going to
Aurelius, yes.
Give us a brief description of yourself, where you live, and what does it mean to be a part of this this genealogy group now?
Okay, my name is Aurelius Peavy, and I'm a mixer. Yeah, Peavy, and I'm a mixing, and also I'm a Moss also, praise God. And I live here in Diamond Bar, California. That's where I live at the time. And I'm married. My wife is Alistine Peavy, and I have 2 daughters. one son, a granddaughter, and a grandson. And I got into this genealogy because of the fact that some years ago, when I graduated from high school, my mother told me that when I was 18, on my 18th birthday, my mother told me that the person who I thought was my father was not really my real father. So my real father, he was a Williams. That's what he's a Williams there. And so I got into genealogy just because my first cousin, I used to go to school, my first cousin, I didn't know they were my cousins at all, anything like that there. And other relatives I went to school with, I didn't know nothing about, we were related, you know. So I got into genealogy because my first cousin let me know that my grandmother on my paternal grandmother, she left some property to my father and he passed away. And so he was getting all the kin folks together and letting them know that, you know, they have some money coming from that property, you know. And so what we decided to do is get us a DNA test, just in case someone would ask whether or not was I was really his son. And so we got the DNA test, found out that, of course, I always believed it anyway, you know, because I knew it was, because I went to spend the night with him one time and I saw a picture of him and he and I looked like twin brothers, you know, so that from there I knew for sure that he was my father. But we got that DNA test and found out that we really were first cousins. And after that there, what I decided I never knew anything about my maternal grandmother side of the family. You know, I knew my maternal grandmother, but I never knew anything about her side of the family. Her side of the family was the Smiths. And I wanted to learn more about her side of the family. And so I started doing some research and everything. And I found out that I had a whole lot of family members out there, Smiths, Mixons, and Mosses, and Parhams, and Owens, and all of that there.
Owens?
You know. Owens, yes. Owens, that's what I got. That got my attention when I heard you say Owens, you know. So I got that. And not only that there, another reason why I got my attention with Owens, I was raised with some Owens. I used to live in the projects in Los Angeles, California, and who were friends of ours here. And I always was wondering, was we related? Because my mother was a good friend of a lady named Owens there, you know. She was a good friend of hers. So I just wondered if they were actually related, you know. So I'm still trying to find that out. When are you going to find out where those ladies? I hope they're still living. I want to find out exactly. You know, you hate to ask people, you know, certain questions, you know, because people are leery of certain things, you know. So you hate to ask people for certain things, you know. There's other family members like the Briggs and Burtons and all that there. And I really want to ask the Briggs, see, because it shows on there that I believe that we are cousins also, you know. So I do know some Briggs also there, you know. So but that's even why I got into it, and I'm still searching. I know that you all heard of the Manhattan Bruce family. I'm pretty sure that you all heard of them also, and I'm trying to find out, am I related to, because I know that we are Bruce family members in my family, you know, on our ancestry tree there. And so I'm trying to find out if I am, just to know if I am related to them in that. So it's a whole lot to learn. I'm still learning. You know, it's sometimes kind of frustrating, you know, because, you know, you just can't get all the information that you want to get, you know, and it's a whole lot you got to go through, you know. But I thank the Lord, you know, that I was able to find many of my family members, and I thank the Lord that I'm able to be on here with you all on today also, and to meet you all.
And he's the deacon. That's a blessing. He's nothing but the God's soldiers and warriors. Hey, let me tell you this about my cousin. He it really means, it's really significant to me because he's related to me on my great grandmother's side, Della Heron. Della Heron, and his great grandmother were sisters. So whenever you get, I have the Mosses, sure, you know, the men, I really did research for them, but from my great grandmother, Della Heron, oh man, to know that him and I had the common grandparents, Della and Laura Heron, is Dave and Rachel Heron. So that's our common ancestors. So this is my cousin on from my great grandmother, and man, she had to be a wonderful woman. She was married twice. First to Thomas Moss. That's where all Thomas Moss. That's where she had about 7, 8 kids from him, and he passed away early in life. She remarried to William McKinney, and had about another 8. And my whole mystery was I didn't know my grandfather because he was killed by a relative in 1930 by a jealous relative of ours. And I didn't know about did he have brothers and sisters? And during those times, those people had a lot of kids. But that was my desire. And that was my motivation for getting into DNA. I wanted to know who the Mosses were. And God has blessed me through this science, through this DNA. I put the family portrait together. I can see them loud and clear. I can take my glasses off and see the family.
Aurelius,
Yes.
Aurelius, do you have any Peavy family that lives in Kansas City?
I don't know. Now I'm only Peavies that I'm related to are my brothers and sisters whose name are Peavy. Those are the only ones I'm related to. And there are some Peavies in Kansas City that my brothers and sisters are related to, but I'm not related to them.
Oh,
because
okay.
because I don't have the same father as him. My father actually, my paternal father's name is Williams. That's Williams.
No.
Now growing up until the age of 18, I thought it was Peavy, but after that, I found out for sure that I really wasn't a Peavy, only a name only.
Okay. No, I was just curious. Working on one of my cousins, his father's family. He's related to the Peavies in Kansas City. So I was just curious.
Yes, I know they are some, but you know what? As I was looking through some DNA, it looked like it's possible that I still might be related to the Peavies. Some other Peavies also. It's possible. You never can tell. It's just a good possibility.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
That's
okay.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna go to Michelle and Anthony. I know Michelle just stepped out. Anthony, could you? There she is.
Hey.
I'll Anthony talk though.
You don't let me be the spokesperson. She gonna talk. She gonna talk. Hey,
I see her.
it's been a while. How you guys doing? I always love being on your group. It's an awesome group. You learn so much. I'm gonna tell you, I'm married to Michelle, but this is Michelle's family here. Okay, but I've learned so much because I'm doing genealogy and all that kind of good stuff. I've been researching my family's history for the last 20 years or so, but I'm from Texas. We live here in Houston, Texas. So I think the connection that Michelle is looking for from the Moss, she's connected to the Mosses there. I think she looked for the connection for people, Mosses from Houston, Texas, and how that connection is done. We haven't found that out yet though.
But all the names that you bring up, when I search, so I'm related to the Owens and Moss, and it's like every time somebody brings up a name, I go and do a search and I'm related to them, but they don't have completed trees. It's like private and then nothing. So I'm related to a lot of the people that the last names that are mentioned, but I still haven't been able to put it together. But I just know you all are my cousins.
and she has studied to be a genealogist. Could you tell us a little bit about that, Michelle?
Okay, so currently I'm in a 14-month study group. I'm almost done. And during this time, we do genealogy proofs and summaries, and I'm learning how to put research together. My goal is to be a genealogist and be paid for it, but I don't want to just do it. I want to make sure when I'm getting paid, I know what I'm doing. So I'm almost there. The class will be done in November, and I'm excited about that. I've taken some classes with Boston University, and I've done some things with Utah. And I'm excited about that because I've learned a lot. So I'm in a good place as far as genealogy is concerned and learning all the ins and outs.
And of course, your daughter, I met her. I mean, we match each other, don't we?
That's actually how we started, because you reached out to my daughter. Everybody reaches out to my daughter. And of course, I manage her account. So that's how I'm here. But she did come once to the meeting, but yeah.
Yes, she did. I got a chance to see my young cousin. Thank you so much for participating. Joan, how you doing? Could we get a brief introduction, please?
Joan Harris here, and I'm kind of a genealogy delinquent at this point. I haven't really been doing much lately. I got a little frustrated and got a little sidetracked, so I have been somewhat remiss in my research of late. Jerry is the reason why I found out about the group. Jerry reached out to me from my ancestry results, would come to find out we're at least fourth cousins. I don't know which side was my mom or my dad's side, but from what I'm getting in DNA, there could be some crossing that happened somewhere back in time to where it could be either side or both. So I'm not sure. The mystery for me is my father's side. And like I said, I've been somewhat delinquent because it hit my head against the wall a little bit. I have family in Arkansas. The reason why I think that might have been when the cross happened, because I'm hearing you all talk about Arkansas. I know for sure that my mom's side, there was family in Arkansas, but like I said, there's some double looking cousins there. So in ancestry, so it could be either way, or both. So I think that's my story. And like I said, I've been somewhat delinquent. I apologize. I've had work at home brain. So.
And your profession is attorney, if I'm correct.
Yes, I work for the state. I work for the state of New York Department of Labor. I used to work in the cities before that. I went to the big bad state, and now I'm a paper pusher.
Are you in New York? Are you in New York?
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Francis. I know I talked to you before.
Oh.
About the Harrises?
No, well, come to find out, you're Francis Haywood, right?
Yeah, I'm Francis Haywood.
Remember we talked on the telephone, it was a while ago, and come to find out I'm related on your husband's side and not your side.
Oh yeah, my ex. Yeah, okay.
Then we come to find out one of the people who was my cousin is the ex-husband of someone in your family.
Oh, who?
He was in Colorado and then Las Vegas. Forgot his name.
It's not Larry Trice. It's not Larry Trice, is it?
No.
No, I manage a lot of DNA tests for family, friends, and on both sides of my family. So yeah.
I thought it was your niece or something like that. I think you told me was it a niece that was the ex-wife of the guy he's my second cousin on Ancestry.
I have to go back. My niece. All my nieces are divorced, so I.
Oh, okay.
all except one. I have to go back.
Okay. All right. So narrowing that down.
So you see, the attorney is coming out on this conversation. You hear that?
That's what I said. My mom and her sisters did not hide anything. We put to rest who one of my great grandfathers, his descendants are. So hey, they put it all out there. So I'm not surprised at anything.
Joan, let's get together and have a private meeting and just to refresh and go over, where you're at, and when you hit brick walls, I understand that, but I want to be able to be there for you and help you through it. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I just wanted to comment on something the deacon said. Aurelius, it was?
Yes,
A nice
yes,
Roman name.
Yes.
Marcus Aurelius.
that's correct.
I understand what you're saying is that the part about reaching out to people and then they don't say anything, that's been my plight,
Mhm.
because I find people through ancestry who are second, maybe third cousins. I'm even some second cousins, and I reach out to them, tell them my story, and I hear nothing. They don't say
Yes,
anything.
right.
One lady, she's a professor somewhere, and I found out she's really close DNA wise. And I think something funky was going on with her family lines. And when I reached out to her, she said nothing. So I think she didn't want to get into
Mhm.
some funky stuff and her family line and something, but her father and her mother, it just was something. I think it was something weird. So she didn't want to talk to me, I don't think.
Mhm.
That's been the one of the biggest struggles, is to get people to respond to you.
Oh, yes.
Because I know people don't want to raise up things, but I'm like, if you don't want to do that, then don't put your DNA out there. You know, if
Mhm.
you don't want people to reach out to you, don't put your DNA out there.
That's right.
So I don't know. So that's been one of my pet peeves, I guess you can call it.
And one of the things that's happened in that case with me is out in California, I've done a lot of research and with my relatives out here, and I match them. And they are they're sort of standoffish. Some of them are because this glamour, Hollywood, and everything else, and you know they're up in the hills, but we're related by DNA. So all I did was just acknowledge them and let them know, and I was just wanting to, you know, build a relationship if they were willing to. But if not, you know, I just keep the dust off and keep going.
Right. That's why I can understand why people, they're going to get a DNA test. They get them in order to find out something about their relatives, something about their family and their ancestry and their background. But still, when you want to approach them, you want to talk to them about it, you call them up or message them, and they don't respond. You know, and myself, sometimes it takes me a long time to respond, you know, because I'm working on something else, or, you know, either I'm praying about something, you know, and so it takes me a while to respond, but I always end up responding when somebody do message me.
I have a comment about why people.
I'll attest to that. I'll attest to that. Boy, that man had me so frustrated. I was reaching out to him on Facebook. I saw his friends. I reached out to his son on Facebook, but finally the deacon came around.
I'm a great procrastinator.
I have a comment about why people don't respond.
Go ahead.
Because, you know, in order for you to see other people's DNA, you have to say, yes, they can see mine. So that doesn't necessarily mean they want to be contacted. But in order for you to look at other people, you have to say, yeah, look at me. And then a lot of times people don't answer because they're not into it. If you look on the side and see how often they've logged in, some people haven't logged in a year or more. So if you reach out to them, you already know they're not going to answer. And then some people do the test to find out if they have Indian in them. And then after that, they're done with it. You know, and it's so much more than that. So I get why. And then in my case, I'm working on a lot of other people's trees. And so we ended up putting all the trees on private, because we had people reaching out, hey, you must know my grandmother, and I don't, you know, and then it's hard to give a diplomatic response when I've got all these records and it looks like I know these people and I don't. So what do you say? We try to be nice. We don't know them, and that sounds a little strange. So I ended up making everything private. So I kind of understand to that sense, but I experienced that as well.
Well, thank you so much. We're gonna go now to my cousin Juanita. I saw a lot of pictures of your family. Val showed me wedding pictures. She showed me family pictures, and they were so enlightening. I saw the joy of the family, and you know, so I empathize with you. You're special. You have a special place in my heart. And I empathize with you, and you all have shown me nothing but love and guidance, and I sure appreciate it. This is my cousin, Juanita. She's written books. She is a Moss. She married by marriage. And her husband was small in stature, but he was a gentle giant. Go ahead.
Yes, he was. And yesterday was his birthday. He would have been 95 years old.
Wow.
He's been with the Lord for 7 years, and we
Praise
all
God.
miss him very, very much. My maiden name is Patience. You ever hear of anybody with a maiden name like that? Well, that's why I became a
The
genealogist.
first
Now,
name Patience.
yeah, right. Yes, even from Kenya, I met somebody from Patience, named Patience, and Blessing. Both of those names coming from Kenya. But I became a genealogist in the sense that I wanted to find out where my great-grandfather came from. I grew up in Pennsylvania. Every Memorial Day, we'll go to his grave site. We would put flowers there because he was a Civil War veteran. He was in finding my background, it turns out that he was an escaped slave in North Carolina who joined the Union Army, and an identifiably Black man, was in a white regiment. I was told even by John Hope Franklin, the foremost Black historian, that there were no Blacks in white regiments. And I had the proof of the pudding. And that's what started me on my way of becoming an author. So I have actually written 9 books, only 5 dealing with the Civil War. And my last book is called Deeply Rooted in North Carolina, because when I did 23andMe DNA and Ancestry.com, I found my family in North Carolina. So Val wanted me to be part of this group because she thought I might have some insight, might have some information that I can pass on to people. And so that's basically my story. I wish I were young like Michelle, because I would love to take that genealogy course, because I was a biology teacher. I was introduced to DNA in 1957 when I saw the picture of the double helix on Life magazine. And I had to teach myself the DNA helix so I could teach it to my students. So I wish I'm 90, I just had my 90th birthday, and I'm really not inclined to do it, Michelle.
And she could you tell us a little bit about
You
your,
should do it.
Oh, no, I can't.
could you tell us a little bit about your education, your education, please? And
Okay, I
hold it,
attended.
and you know, some of the workshops that you attended, please. You know, like some of the presentations you had, and some of, you know, you did some presentations, you know, over the years.
Yes, well, you can look at my website, which is www.journeyfromthepast.com, and you will see that I was actually on a C-SPAN program. You can pull it up and see me do my presentation on Black soldiers who served in white regiments. And but as far as my early education, it was in a small town in Pennsylvania where we were the only Black family. The only Black people in that town were my relatives, the descendants of Crowder Patience, Civil War veteran. I graduated from Wilkes College, which is in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, but the highlight of my education was the year that I spent at Bennett College in Greensboro, North Carolina. I really enjoyed it there, but we didn't have a lot of money. Now, why didn't we have a lot of money? First of all, my parents were divorced too. I was not reared by my mother. I was reared by my father. My father was an anthracite coal sculptor, and his name is Charles Edgar Patience. And I've written a book about his work too. So,
And tell them about the museum since you're going there. Tell
oh,
them
the
about the African
museum,
American
oh yeah,
Museum.
in Washington.
Thanks, cousin Brenda. Come on, come on.
Yeah, I'm her promoter. I'm her
Yes.
promoter.
There is a small display cabinet on the wall of the first concourse level of the new Smithsonian African Americans, what is it, Museum of
Mhm.
Heritage and Culture, something like that. You know which one I mean, the museum in Washington. But it's on the concourse level where Oprah Winfrey's theater is. So I always tell people, if you can find Oprah Winfrey's theater, you can find the display cabinet on the wall. So a curator came to my house, asked me what stuff I had of my father's that I might donate there. And so I didn't know my picture was going to be there. I'm actually pictured in that museum. Yes.
And it was only supposed to be there for a short time period, and she's still there. As far
Yeah,
as we know, we haven't been lately.
It was
but
put,
yeah.
it was first displayed in 2016 when the museum opened, and it was only supposed to be for 2 years. And it's still there if you ever get to that museum.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Where'd you get your doctor's degree at?
I have an honorary doctorate, and it's from King's College, which is in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania too. And it really should be my father's honor, because my father made a 4.5-ton altar for King's College Chapel in the 1960s. So it's really for him. But when the president of the college, well, first of all, I got this letter from King's College in December of 2010, and it came with Christmas cards. And you know how you throw things away, you're not paying too much attention. And this letter comes from King's College, which I thought they wanted a donation. It's a good thing I didn't tear it up like I tear up a whole lot of my letters without opening it. When I opened it up, it said, we would like to award you an honorary doctorate at our commencement in June. Will you accept? Well, of course will I accept, yes. So at the dinner that was given for me, I was sitting next to the president, and I said, well, why did you choose me? And the only other person who was chosen was the bishop of the diocese of Scranton, Pennsylvania. So why was I not Catholic? Why was I chosen? That's not the college I went to. Well, they got this whereas you did this, whereas you did that. It's all made up. No, I mean, really. Whereas you came from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, whereas you were an educator and all that stuff. And he said, and this doctor is a gift to you, and I want you to call yourself doctor. So I do. I call myself Dr. J.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just say, Jerry, I don't know.
Ms. Moss.
I beg your pardon, what'd you
I was
say?
a biology chemistry major in college.
Oh,
I know Watson and Crick.
Yes, absolutely. And Rosalind Franklin, who didn't get credit.
Oh, no, I'm getting educated.
Oh yeah, she's the one. Yeah, she worked right along with them, and she didn't get any credit at all.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry, I just wanted to say, I don't know if you knew, and I wanted to tell Joan, I'm an attorney also. And and I just retired in December from the Justice Department. So when you were talking about doing reparation work, Jerry, I was gonna say when we get to that, I would love to help you with that or do work on that with you. If you need any help from a legal standpoint. I'm still a member of the DC bar. So I'm supposed to be relocating there, but I'm still in Connecticut now. I haven't gotten there yet. So I'm hoping once I move down there, I can do more of that kind of work and do some more.
Thank you so much. What did everybody think about those meet and greets, the conversations? What y'all think of that?
I'm just in awe of Juanita's bio. I really am. I'm a retired teacher too. The little one.
What did you teach?
I taught elementary school, retired as a principal in LA Unified. Okay.
I'm a retired educator as well.
Oh.
Yeah, there are a lot of teachers. You know what? There are a lot of teachers in the family. Just quickly, I think in Arkansas for another family reunion years back, and I went over to the archives. And you know how you don't believe your parents? My parents had probably a 10th grade education, but my mom always had this certificate since she was a teacher. But when you're little, you didn't go to college, so how could you have a certificate? So like, go and look at this book. It says Colored Teacher's License. And I discovered all kinds of teachers, all kinds of people back in the day had taken the test and passed the test to become a teacher. As a matter of fact, one of my father's sisters, Nancy, one of my cousins is still alive. And I asked Ernestine, I said, was Aunt Nancy a teacher? And she said, yeah, she had dementia, but at that clarity, she said, yeah, she taught for a few years and then she had kids. This is like early 1900s. And so I just learned, you just don't know what the family has done. You just really don't know all the accomplishments until you really start to look. And I just discovered just a bunch of teachers. I found out one of my uncles had gone to Morehouse. I didn't know that. It just started all these conversations. So it's always so good to hear what the family has done. It really is. And you pass it on to the kids. You tell them. So and I'll stop. I got I didn't do this history. It was done by Melvin Collier. If you heard of Melvin Collier,
Yes, I know.
Melvin and our cousins somewhere. And in his last book, the book he did the epilogue, and he said he was talking about DNA, and he was talking to one of my South Carolina cousins, and he put a picture of my great grandparents in there. And so Melvin says that one of our relatives is Elston Howard, who was the first African American to play professional baseball with New York. And so I've got those two little ones I was talking about, they're into baseball. So I was talking to the older one, he's like 9, and he'd make this home run. I said, just like your cousin, Elston Howard. He said, no, like my cousin, Uncle Kevin. Well, Uncle Kevin is like 50. He played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He said, I know about Elston Howard, but I'm like my Uncle Kevin. I said, okay, at least he knew, but it is so good to know. And thank you for sharing.
Yes. I met Melvin at an Asala book signing one year. That's how he made me.
Yeah, well, he's my cousin, and that picture he has in the book, I'm the one who gave it to my cousin who was doing DNA, and he put it in the book. So my great-great-grandparents, Thomas and Melvina Ray, are in his book. So that's why I said I didn't do that research. Melvin did, and I give him credit for that too.
Good, yes.
Excuse me, Michelle, I interrupted you. Tell me about your school, your teaching, please.
Okay, I retired from elementary and middle school, and I taught some of everything. I was a computer teacher, a reading specialist, science teacher at one time, history teacher, and I also worked for University of Phoenix. I have my doctorate in curriculum and instruction. And so my whole idea with the genealogy was to bring the research together with the genealogy, because I do research and publish articles. And so I wanted to bring that together. And it's been interesting. In my group, I do the history, and they didn't even know. And I guess I took it for granted. Like one of my papers, I was writing about Aretha Franklin's father, and they didn't know who that was. And I was talking about James Brown, and they didn't know who that was. And it's really interesting that we take our history for granted, and a lot of people of other persuasions have no idea what we're talking about. We're in a world where we have to know both sides, and they only know their side. So I'm thankful I'm in a group where I can bring that to them. They had to research some stuff and look things up because they had no idea what I was talking about. And then they were saying I should have elaborated. And I'm thinking, I didn't know I had to elaborate on who Aretha Franklin was. So yeah.
Well, that's a ding, because I took Toastmasters, and when you have these different pregnant pauses and ahs, ding, ding, ding. They had a good career in Toastmasters. The message that I want to share, Brenda, you did bring it, you brought it up. One of the topics I was going to be going into about reparations, but I want to share something with you. While I'm doing my research on that, I'm doing more African history about I'm studying more about my people than I've ever done before, because I've given presentations on this reparations, and I'm going to be giving it again in September to the public here in San Diego at the Central Library. I've done it to a couple of groups. But what I've done by doing that, you have to know the history. And so when you know the history, you know, it's pretty interesting how there were so many broken promises. And so people are sort of discouraged now. They don't believe that it's going to happen. But it has happened in a sense in some areas. But what the information that I've gotten, it's really riled me up when I read the stories, you know, about Tulsa. I read the stories about 40 Acres and a Mule. I read the stories about the promise that Abraham Lincoln had, and then Andrew Jackson turns around and changes it. But this is through what I research. So yes, Cousin Brenda, I will be. I am doing some of the research on the reparations here in California, but I'm also, I took it up to the national level. There's HR 40, and it's in the Congress now, and what people are asking is for President Biden to appoint a commission. He wants him to. People want him to see. He can appoint a commission on reparations. So that's where they're pushing him to do that. But there is a bill, it's called HR 40. It is in the Congress, and it started with Dellums, and now Sheila Jackson Lee, she is spearheading it. So we will be going into some more details on it. But when you talk about that, you need to know the history. And man, it's really emotional what happened, and you know how we were robbed, just flat out robbed, and it makes me you know, perturbed. I don't say mad because animals get mad. I'd have to teach my kids that. They be saying, I'm mad. I say animals get mad, people get angry, you know. And I'm angry at you. You straighten up. But as it is, thanks for your comments. We're gonna shut it down. You know, I'm gonna forego the closing comments this time because we had, you know, pretty extensive initial comments, and if the good Lord wills, I look forward for us meeting again on the third Tuesday of this month, and I'll be sending out the invitation. But if there's anything that anybody else has to say, you know, to anybody, you know, this is the time to say it.
Yeah, just quickly, Jerry, you know, on the Georgetown University thing, there is a group that's filing a lawsuit against the Jesuits. It's in the process. I don't know if it's been filed, but they have been collecting names and signatures. So there is for the Georgetown University, and those are the ancestors they sold into Louisiana. So there will be a lawsuit going forward.
Yeah, I saw that, and we do have some of our members that are a part of that.
Yeah, haven't figured out exactly who, but all my siblings are DNA matches to somebody.
Yeah, that has been brought up, you know, previously, and there are people who are in our group who are a part of that, those descendants.
Okay.
And I just want to say is that I'm sure glad to meet all of you. It's been very enjoyable being with you all today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry, don't forget to tell us who the
because they're on Zoom and I
mitochondrial
wouldn't have enough
DNA
time to
is.
do it.
Yeah, we want to
You have
know
it there?
where you came from. What country you
Hold
came
it, everybody. Hold it for a minute. Hold it for a minute, please. We have a new participant. We have a new participant. Let's see what goes on with this here.
Ooh, Austin, take that off the background.
In Beyond LLC.
It's in a bag that I had.
Okay.
No, it's another bag. It's another bag. That was probably the back in the back of the car. I'm going out to.
Let's get her attention. Hello, young lady. Info for In Beyond.
I'm trying to get online with them.
Yeah, you're online. Could you tell us who you are?
Hi.
Yes. Tell us who you are. There she is.
Hi.
Hello. tell us about yourself briefly, because we're getting ready to shut it down, but tell us where you are, who you are, and what does it mean to be in, in this group, and what have you done in your research? Tell us something.
Hold on a minute. If you're talking to me, I'm trying to connect.
Yeah, I was talking to you. You missed the question.
Okay, just give me a minute. Give me a minute.
All right.
I'm trying to connect. I don't know what I'm doing. Hold on.
You're
Also
connected.
say hi. This is our cousin. Hello. Hi, this
Yeah,
is my
hello
cousin
there.
Austin. I'm Jacqueline. I just got online.
I'm your son, Austin.
Oh, this is my son, Austin. Hold on.
She's nervous, obviously.
Hold on. Let me.
How you
I
doing,
don't know
man?
what to do.
Well, just talk.
Let's talk, because we can hear
Hi,
you. We can
I'm
hear you.
Jacqueline. I live in Cedar Park, Texas, Central Texas, outside of Austin. What this means to me is a lot. I now am able to identify with at least who I am, part of who I am, at least my surname, Nelson, by the way of Aurelia Nelson. I think her mom name is Emma. They're from originally, I think, St. Louis or Mississippi, Alabama. I don't know all of what's needed to be known. And Mr. Moss found me, Jerry found me back in, what was it, Jerry, 2019? My son is leaving, just bear with me for a minute and we're gonna walk out. Come on, son. No, I know that, but I just remembered I was supposed to be online. I need to get, she won't be able to open the door for me, so hold on.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
got my car keys? Yes. Okay, hi,
Bye.
okay, sorry.
Never a dull moment.
Yes, but this means a lot to me, to be able to connect, to see people that look like me that are related to me.
Yeah, it does mean a lot. And that's
Yes.
that's the key, whether you have a small number Central Morgans or a lot, we relatives, and treat you the same. That's my motto. Treat you how I
Yes.
want to be treated.
I have two children. The young man you just met, that was my youngest. I have a 34-year-old. Her name is Ashley. She lives in Dallas. And Austin lives here with me in Austin. He's originally, and by the way, I'm from Los Angeles. I'm from LA.
And her and I share the same birthday.
Yeah, we had the same birthday. How many years later? I'm 66. 10 years? Think something like that.
No,
10
it's
or
not
20.
that many. It's not that many, but
Not that many, but I thank you. I thank you for the invite. I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. It really means a lot. You have no idea.
Well, we feel the love. We feel what it does mean to you, and that's our purpose. We want to connect family. We want to build relationships, and to see you, amongst our members here, it's a blessing.
What's her name again?
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline,
Isn't it Jacqueline?
she's her mic's off.
We
Yeah.
can't
Oh,
hear
but
you.
it's Jacqueline Nelson.
Jacqueline, yeah.
Yeah. So let's
Okay.
get back on.
Mhm.
Man, this is something, man. Never a dull moment.
Uh-huh.
Well, this is amazing to me since I remember when we didn't even have electricity.
And now she's on like 10 Zoom calls, right?
I wanted to use this technology. This is one way that we can
It's
Yeah,
working.
from all over the country.
Working.
Yeah, from all over the country.
But I don't think she realizes her mic is off.
Yeah, she's on mute.
She's on mute.
Well, that's okay. Either way, you
Next
got the
time,
gist of
yeah.
her message. So, any other closing comments, family?
We're trying to find out your mitochondrial DNA. Do you have it available, or you're gonna look it up later?
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. I'll get it together where it's presentable.
Okay.
Oh, presentable. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Where it's presentable. I have it though. I do have all of it.
All right.
Okay, everybody. It's all good. It's all God.
Okay,
Peace.
Okay.
bye-bye.
Good
Night.
night,
So,
everybody.
Hey, good
Good
night.
night.
I'll see you all again. Good night.
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 It'll be the
Night.
third Tuesday of the month, third Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay. Very informative meeting. It was enlightening. More than an hour and a half. A couple of my new cousins came on. You know, it's really, really gratifying. Yeah, Larry, you've been here the whole time. That's good. And I see her. Yeah, her. You know, again, it's really a blessing. It's all good. It's all God. Peace.